All right, the Spurs are done with round one. It was not easy, but the Memphis Grizzlies are caged up, and Spurs are in the second round. But next time, it's the Houston Rockets. And how will that series go is the question. Welcome to the News for San Antonio Roundtable, and as always, it's powered by Project Spurs, along with Paul Garcia, Colin Beckendorf. I'm your host, Steven Anderson. And guys, let's talk playoffs, all right? So round one is done. The Spurs beat the Memphis Grizzlies in 6. I called 6, just saying. But these guys, I don't know what they call it. But I mean, so Paul, I'll go to you first. What did you think of that series? It was kind of unexpected.
I give Memphis more credit than what I originally picked. I had Spurs as a sweep, when I found out Tony Allen was out of the series. And sure enough, Memphis pushed them to 6 games. It was actually their offense. They gave Spurs some problems. Their defense as well. Even without Tony Allen, still constrained, the Spurs, Kawhi Leonard's attack, and where the Spurs, you saw these really scoring droughts against Memphis. And so I was actually surprised, but, in the end, San Antonio had more firepower. They came through with the series.
Colin, what did you think of the Spurs offense in that first round? Particularly, there was games 3 and 4 where they could not buy a basket in Memphis.
Yeah, it was weird because the eye test was telling me their passes haven't been on target except for maybe game 5 and 6.
Yeah.
They were missing some easy shots, they were missing some bunnies, but then I think they came out with the highest offensive rating of any team in round one, which was really surprising when I heard that. I wasn't expecting that. It almost looked worse than it was. I think when it was off, you could tell, but when it was on, it was on. So.
We cannot talk about the first round and not talk about Kawhi Leonard, guys. The guy went off a career-high 43 points in the Game 4 loss. Paul, what do you think of Kawhi?
I mean, he just showed it. It was remarkable to see both the scoring way, the way he's able to play, get to the free throw line, hit those fadeaways, the very, people are almost saying Kobe type shots, hit the three-pointer. But then the way, the Grizzlies threw trapping, double team action at him, and he figured a way to find his teammates. He moved the ball, found his teammates, got some of those 5 assist games in the series. And so he's found a way to, when a coach takes something away from him, he's able to counter with something else.
Colin, what do you think of Kawhi's, particularly that 43-point game where he went off, and unfortunately there was no one there to help him?
Yeah, so it was rough just because, Parker actually started the third quarter amazing. It would have been a maybe 15 or 20-point game without Parker's heroics to start the third quarter. But then down the stretch, he kind of had to take every shot. And no one was questioning it because everyone else was missing shots. So it was maybe if there's 1 or 2 other people that were getting involved, they could hit shots. Maybe it would have been a 5-game series or something. But he was amazing. He was fantastic for sure.
So now that the first round is done, the Spurs head into round 2. And it doesn't get any easier, unfortunately. The running gun, 3-point shooting, I was about to say Golden State Warriors. The running gun, 3-point shooting Houston Rockets, they play the same style, are coming into San Antonio with the second round beginning on Monday. Guys, 2 MVP candidates, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden going at it. Paul, what are you expecting from this second round?
It's gonna be a really fun series. Like you said, a lot of 3-point shooting. You have a team who wants to take away the 3-pointer, San Antonio, whereas a team that wants to get out and run in transition. Harden's a pick and roll maestro. Basically, he gets people involved, moves the ball around, gets the free throw line. But the Spurs have a great counter with Danny Green, with Jonathan Simmons, with Kawhi Leonard to guard him. On the other side, all the Rockets have is Trevor Ariza to take away Kawhi Leonard, and so Kawhi has a little bit more options like Tony Parker and Marcus Aldridge by his side. I think it's going to be a really fun chess match between Pop and Mike D'Antoni. D'Antoni wants to play small ball. Pop wants to stay with 2 traditional bigs. So it's going to be interesting to see the kind of wrinkles that both coaches throw out there.
Colin, after that first round, Tony said, we know what Houston is capable of, but we're going to win this series with our defense. How important will that Spurs defense be?
It's going to be so vitally important. Like Paul said, they have a playbook full of pick and rolls from the top to the bottom, and the Spurs have some great players at defending the pick and roll, but they also have some players that can be exploited in the pick and roll. Some of their bigs and some of their backcourt. So Houston's going to run pick and roll after each other at those players every single time to exploit those weaknesses. D'Antoni's not afraid to run the same play 1,000,000 times in a row. And so it's going to have to be top-notch in the series.
In the last show we did, we talked about liabilities for the Spurs against Memphis, and we named Dwayne Dedmon as one of those. And we saw that happen in the first round, which is he did not get as many minutes as he would have hoped. Paul, who is a liability for the Spurs in this second round?
It's again their big is a guy like Pau Gasol. You watch the film from those games against Houston and James Harden when he puts him in a pick and roll, he made him look like Enes Kanter like he did to him. Also Dedmon again. Houston's not they're gonna back off him to double team on Kawhi and Tony Parker and Aldridge. So Dedmon, he really has to stay effective on the defensive end in order to stay out on the floor, get some of those lob dunks, try to become effective, crash the boards, and then can the Spurs' guards The Rockets have Harden, they have Patrick Beverly, they have Eric Gordon, they have Lou Williams. They have 4 guards who can play make, who can run the pick and roll, can shoot threes, can get to the rim. And so can Patty Mills, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, all those guys, outside of Kawhi and Danny Green, can they step up and still keep their guy in check? That'll be interesting to watch.
Guys, I think James Harden is still having nightmares of that Kawhi Leonard block from the regular season. So let's talk about that matchup in particular. That's going to be the one to watch. Kawhi Leonard versus James Harden. And James Harden, we all know what he can do offensively, but Kawhi has the advantage with those long arms, with those defense, Paul, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't know if you're not going to see that much. You might see in the last 5 minutes of the game, but it's mainly Danny Green and Jonathan Simmons who mainly guard him. But one thing the Spurs did do, which was interesting, is they put Kawhi on Ryan Anderson, so that when the Rockets ran that 2-4 pick and roll with Harden, Kawhi immediately got onto him. So that'll be something to watch, is the cross-matching on defense. And I think, yes, in crunch time, you're going to see Kawhi on James Harden, and Kawhi's probably going to have the favorable matchup in those situations.
All right, last point before we get to predictions, we got to talk LaMarcus Aldridge. He did not have the best first-round series against Memphis, but to be fair, there was 2 very physical big guys in the paint with him. Colin, what do you think this can be LaMarcus' series?
It really can, especially whenever Ryan Anderson is on him, or if they have one of their small ball lineups out there. Nene and Capella will give him trouble, maybe, but Ryan Anderson should be a matchup that he should be able to exploit and have a good series. He played great in 2014 against the Rockets, and this is a completely different team, but I think he has the opportunity for a really good series.
Paul, is LaMarcus a concern of yours?
He's going to have, like Colin said, he can move Capella and he can move Ryan Anderson in the post. He's going to command double teams. He's going to get a lot of pick and pop jumpers. The only guy he really can't move is Nene, but he misses a lot of those shots. I watched. When Ryan Anderson was on the floor with LaMarcus during the season, he shot 36%. That's not a good percentage.
Yeah.
He's going to have those opportunities, and it's up to him if he can be able to make them or not. And that'll be the interesting question. I really think he can have a great series though against these guys.
All right. Well, it's time, as we always do at this time, looking at the crystal ball, try to predict how this series is going to go. We're probably going to be wrong, but I'm 1 for 1 at this one. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to start with Paul. Who wins the series? How many games?
I have the Spurs winning the series in 6 games.
Colin?
Spurs in 7.
I'm going to agree with Paul, so that's always a good thing to do. I'm going to go Spurs in 6, mainly because Houston has no defense. The Spurs have an advantage with their defense, and they have Kawhi Leonard, so that's always a good thing. But if you want to look at what's going on in the playoffs, go to ProjectSpurs.com, go to News4SanAntonio.com, go to FoxSanAntonio.com for all your Spurs playoff news. For Paul, for Colin, I'm Stephen Anderson. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time on the Spurs Roundtable.